course, I wanted to talk to you first and foremost just about what families can do right now to be supportive of their kids, what parents can do to be supportive of their kids. Because whether a child went to Feather River Adventist or they just heard about it, it's really a scary thing. And kids, I'm sure, have a lot of questions.
Absolutely. And yes, whether they were the kids on the campus or kids in other schools or even adults hearing about this potential shooting, it's a scary situation. Social media has a way of which people can share information quickly and almost add to the level of anxiety and trauma. So if you're a parent and you have a young child or even a teenager, you want to start the conversation with your kids. You want to broach that subject and see how they're doing, check in with them about how they're feeling and what their reactions are, and hear them as they speak about it. Some kids are going to be very upset about this and scared. Other kids might be like, oh, well, it doesn't apply to me. I'm in Chico and this is in Orville. But if someone or your child is expressing anxiety, you can normalize that and say, yes, this is being scared is a normal reaction to a shooting. There's some things you can do post events like this, particularly around routines. Routines are important. So keeping your schedule, keeping your routines with your kids, bedtime, dinner, things like that, things that give a sense of normalcy or safety are important. I would also encourage parents to reduce their kids' access to social media and the television or news. As an adult, I can see things on TV that might not be as distressing as a kid. And so kids go to their cell phones or go to the media sometimes, and that can amplify some of the anxiety or fears that they have.
Okay.
A couple other things include reassuring your kids that the world is not a dangerous place and that, addressing some of their fears like, oh gosh, school shootings happen every day and I'm not safe going to school. And, if they have those feelings, talking to them about that, saying, no, actually, the school is a safe place to be and there are adults here to protect you and things like that.
Yeah.
And realizing that kids are going to be anxious and they're going to be upset, but there is a line where from normal anxiety to perhaps what they call post-traumatic stress disorder, where it's more of an amplified response to be aware about.
That's, something I'm curious about is how do we find that balance between comforting our children or our family members, but not taking it to the level where we don't want to downplay the fact that people do need to be aware of potential threats in their environment.
Right, and that's a fine line to make sure people are aware of threats in their environment and to stay aware of the whole if you see something, say something piece. Because sometimes with school shootings, there are people who have seen things or heard things or read things online, or the shooter has said something before and they've missed it or they haven't reported it because they didn't think it was a big deal. So I think that is important in those cases. But in this case, you've got little kids, K-8, that wouldn't be probably noticing things like that, or I don't know if the shooter is connected to those students or not, but yes. Tell me again the question. I lost track of what you were.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just having that conversation. What do you recommend to parents who they want to comfort their kids? They want to make them, like you said, feel like the world is a safe place, but at the same time, you want to make sure your child keeps their eyes open and stays prepared of potential threats because there are threats out there.
Yeah, and I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's acknowledging that this event happened, that it's very scary, but also acknowledging the world in general is pretty safe. Addressing extreme perceptions like, oh my gosh, this means every school is a danger place and I can't go to school. It's bad. Shootings are going to happen every day. But the reality is there are bad people out there or people who do bad things, but that's more the minority than the reality. And for the most part, we live in a very tight community with a lot of great people, and the adults are supposed to be there to help support them, and for the most part do.
So I think that a lot of times there might be situations where parents feel very concerned. And I mean, I know having teenagers that kids don't always really want to talk about their feelings, especially not with their parents. If parents know that their child experienced this or has heard about it and the kid just really doesn't want to talk about it, what do you recommend that parents do?
So not all kids want to talk to their parents about things like this, but there are potentially other people in their lives that they trust or they want to share information with, a cousin, an uncle, a family member, a neighbor. The fact that they're willing to talk to someone about it is important. There are also school counselors available on most of the school campuses in Butte County. The county operates behavioral health services, and we have staff on site there, or we have contracted providers that are available. The school has their own counselors, and then we have a mobile crisis team that will go out anywhere in the community if someone's in crisis. So if someone wants help, it's available. If someone doesn't know where to get help and wants to call and maybe even talk about what's the difference between a normal reaction and maybe a trauma reaction, they can call our access line and talk to one of our counselors. And that's 530-891-2810. But the part for parents that I would encourage them to pay attention to is the next 24, 48 hours. It's going to be normal for kids to be upset, anxious, maybe lose some sleep and be hypervigilant about things. But if that continues and you see kids, they're not able to sleep, they're avoiding situations that remind them about the trauma, they refuse to go to school, they're highly agitated or reactive. Those are signs that on an ongoing basis means that they probably need some help. They probably need a mental health professional to help them work through some of that trauma to feel better.
Okay. Is Buchanan Behavioral Health actively coordinating with the school to provide additional resources? I don't know if it's been announced yet if school will be in session tomorrow, but I have a feeling it's not just the students, but anybody who was there could probably use some support.
Yes, we are actively working with Department of Social Services and the Sheriff's Office. We have a crisis team that is staging at the Church of Nazarene to work with any kids who have some concerns or parents that come and are needing some support. We are available for both youth and adults. If someone, as I mentioned, is in crisis or wants some mental health counseling or support, they can call our access line 530-891-2810.
891-2810. Is that the same phone number you gave earlier?
Yes, that's the same number.
And you call that the crisis?
It's called our access line. It's our point of contact where if someone wants to call to say, hey, how do I get into services, or they're in crisis, or they have a family member in crisis, or they want to tell us about someone who they're concerned about. It all starts at that one point of contact.
Yeah.
And then that team assesses what the need is and then either refers them to someone or does the actual response on the phone.
Okay. I think we've covered all of my questions. Is there anything else that you think people should keep in mind?
I just really want to emphasize not just checking in on your kids, but as an adult, checking in with yourself about your own reaction. This is scary. You know, it's as a parent, I would be like, what? I don't know. I don't necessarily want to send my kid to school.
Yeah.
Maybe it's really unsafe. So adults also have responses to trauma, and some of those are very healthy, but some of them can be very, very unhealthy, such as going to the bottle or going to the substances and using excessive substances to kind of numb themselves out or cope. Your kids are watching you, especially in lieu of what's going on. And so you don't want to role model that for them either. Like, gosh, every time I'm stressed, I'm going to go drink a 12 pack. So also being aware of modeling healthy behaviors for your kids and modeling ways to cope with stress, I think is important too for adults.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Scott. I appreciate it.